Principle on 95.9 FM, 1470 AM. I'm Cam, your host. We're sitting here with Corey Norris and
Hello.
Chris Snyder. You don't get my last name. We have an interesting topic today.
Telephone number?
Yeah, before we begin. If you want to call in and join the discussion, the number is 803-799-8255, 803-799-TALK. And so we're...
And you can call in on any topic.
Yeah, and you can talk about whatever you want. Actually, our good friend Kwame, all the way up in Chicago, called the wrong show earlier. He talked to some people who were not a libertarian talk show about some very libertarian things.
So, Kwame, if you're listening, you need to be calling us.
Yeah, I sent you a message, Kwame, so this is us now. This is the right show. Again, this is The Principle on 95.9 FM. And so you want to jump right into it, guys?
Like a diving board, go for it.
What else are we going to do?
So we're going to talk about the infamous Bowe Bergdahl, the deserter, as he's being called, right?
Yeah, that's the thing in the news, and everybody seems to be talking about it. So I thought we should bring up the subject of what, if anything, he's done wrong, and what people seem to think is there's no valid reason to ever leave the military, or that when you sign a contract that somehow you sign over your rights in your life to the state. And I think I disagree with that.
And you're talking about signing a military contract, joining the military?
Any contract.
And this is something we were talking about earlier. You don't believe that it's possible to sign away your own rights.
Right. You can't sign away. You can't sign yourself into slavery.
Okay, so can you go into that a little further, why you think that is?
Well, at any point, if you sign a contract, you sign a contract to, paint a house, and you say, I'm going to do this for $500, and it's going to take me 3 days, and for some reason I decide that I don't want to do it, you can't say that you own me and can force me to do that just because I've signed a contract.
What if you've signed a contract to provide your labor for a specific amount of time, or you've? That's what I just. That's what I'm. No. What I mean is, can you sign a contract that says I am going to do what you tell me to do for 3 years? So can you sign yourself into indentured servitude in essence?
Well, I mean, that's the same thing. If I say I'm going to sign, if I say I'm going to come Monday to Wednesday, and I'll be here at 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock for 3 days for a set amount or hourly rate or anything else, and I don't show up, you don't have a right to come kidnap me and drag me to your house to paint your house. I've broken a contract. So when I break a contract, if I've caused you some kind of harm, then I have to compensate you. But if I haven't caused you any harm, then I don't get paid, and you just have to find somebody else.
So I could say, hey, I'll be painting your house from now until whenever the job is done. But if I don't finish painting your house, what should you do about that? I haven't been paid yet, and I just quit the job.
Then no harm, no foul.
Then no harm, no foul. I've gotten free half a paid job.
Okay.
I'm confused how that would change anything. I mean, what happens is people have been talked into this collective mindset that everybody is part of the state, and if you sign a contract with a state, that somehow it's different than if you sign any other contract. We're all individuals, so any contract you sign is no different than any other. It doesn't matter who's on the other side of it.
So in essence, if you sign up to be in the military and you decide later on that you don't want to be in the military, you also don't get paid for being in the military, so no harm, no foul.
Right, exactly. And you forego any benefits that you would have received from the contract, and you just walk away. I mean, you have no liability other than any kind of harm, unless you've received something that you have to pay back, or if you've caused some kind of harm to somebody, then of course you'd have to make amends for that. But other than that, I'd like somebody to argue how that's any different.
So let's say it's not the military. Let's say it's some type of overseas contracting, gun for hire sort of work. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you reach that contract, and you just breach the contract, just start walking around in Afghanistan and no.
Yeah, I mean,
what's the difference?
What recourse would they have?
Right.
What does it matter who's on the other side of that contract? It's still a contract.
Mm-hmm. Why is it that a contract with the state should somehow be magically different than a contract with anyone else? That's the question. I think that another big thing, another big aspect of this is, so first of all, the question is, can you sign yourself into indentured servitude? Yeah. Because in essence, that's what the military claims, is that you're indentured to them for this amount of time to do whatever the heck they tell you to do, whether you like it or not. That's the that's the underlying idea behind people who are critical of him breaching the contract, in essence, is that, well, you agreed to do whatever the military told you to do, so do it, right? Now, the question is, if you don't have the right to breach that contract, let's say, so the truth is that he started finding a moral conundrum in what was going on in Afghanistan, and he said, this doesn't seem right. The email that he sent his father actually talks about a lot of this. I'll read you just a little bit of the email that he sent his father right before he disappeared. Mom, Dad, the future is too good to waste on lies, and life is way too short to care for the damnation of others, as well as to spend it helping fools with their ideas that are wrong. I have seen their ideas, and I am ashamed to even be American. The horror of the self-righteous arrogance that they thrive in, it is all revolting. 3 good sergeants have been forced to move to another company, and one of the biggest cuss word bags is being put in charge of the team. It goes on and on. It talks, but it was obvious that this guy had some type of moral conundrum that he was in seeing the actions that were going on over there, and he felt morally in conflict. His father's response says in all capital letters, "Obey your conscience." So this guy had some moral conundrum, and he deserted because of this moral conundrum, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, if he can't do that, the question that I have for a lot of the people that say that is, what if his orders were to fire on American citizens? Is it then okay for him to have a moral conundrum and desert? Because if it's not okay for him to do it in Afghanistan because of a moral conundrum, because of a conflict with his internal morality, a conflict with his internal moral barometer, then it's not okay for him to not obey the orders to fire on Americans.
If he gets orders to kick down doors and take American guns, then he has to do it. If he has no moral obligation where he can't sidestep that, and people are saying he's owned, then he has no way to sidestep that.
So he has to. So in that case, he would have to start killing Americans as long as he's ordered to do so.
You're either responsible for your actions or you're not. So
that'll lead us into the next question we had. Well, before then, I believe we're about to go into a break. We have John on the line. You want to bring him on now and go into the break? Yeah. Hey, John, how you doing?
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
You're good, man. We have about 30 seconds until the music's going to start.
Okay, I'll try and be quick. Just wanted to point out that it doesn't come as a surprise to me that the military, if people violate that contract, that they can, take it a step further. Because just even when you look at the draft, you're forced. I did it. I'm 22 years old.
But John, hold on.
John, hold that thought. We're going to go to a break, and we'll be right back with you.
You wanted more local, you get more local. That's because we can't afford a network affiliate. Point 95.9 FM and 1470 AM.
Guys, we're back. You're listening to The Point on 95.9 FM, 1470 AM. You can listen online at makethepointradio.com or on your phone with the iTunes app. Just search for 95.
With the TuneIn
iTunes. With the TuneIn app. Also, we're uploading our shows to YouTube.
After the fact, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't want you to just stop listening right now.
803-799-TALK, 8255.
So we've got a caller on the line, John. He actually just dialed that number.
Hey, John, sorry.
Yeah, hi.
Okay, so what were you saying, John?
Okay, I was saying that you guys are talking about what happens when you violate your contract with the military. And as I'm sure you guys already know, but as I wanted to point out, is that the obvious difference is that, if you're painting somebody's house and you opt out of your contract, they don't have the gang of armed men that will come after you and use force if you violate that contract. And it also doesn't surprise me, just considering the fact, I'm 22 years old, and you basically have to sign up for the draft. It's one of those things that, so even if you don't, sign up for the military voluntarily, if they won, they can essentially make you, you could deny, and who knows what would happen then, but they can make you serve for them if they won anyway, because they've drafted people in the past.
Yeah, that's what happens in a free country. They come and kidnap you and drag you away.
Right. It's the price of living in a free country.
Yeah.
It's because of that social contract.
Right, that nobody signed.
Right. So sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. And I'd like to think you guys are talking about whether or not military members would fire on, American citizens, and I'd like to think that they wouldn't, but it's authority, and it's just what they said. The Nazis said at the Nuremberg trials is that, I was just following orders, just doing as I was told. And, I'm a part-time college student, and in sociology class, I forget what the experiment was called, where they had
the Milgram
pretended to be doctors.
The Milgram experiment.
Oh, yeah, Milgram.
Yeah. And so you guys are familiar with what I'm talking about, where they, basically the idea was that, if someone who appears to be an authority is telling you what to do, people are going to do as they're told, no matter what.
So for the listeners who may not know, the Milgram experiment is when basically they had students or participants in the experiment acting as assistants, and they had doctors beside them, like with white lab coats and clipboards, and the students were made to believe that, or the volunteers were made to believe that
there was another person who was out of sight, who couldn't be seen, and they were told, the people, when they sat down, they said this person has a heart condition, whatever, right? They would that was just part of the conversation. They dropped that in there. Oh, by the way, this person has a heart condition. But what they did is the person who was being, the subject of the experiment was reading questions, and if the person got it wrong, they were supposed to press a button, and it was supposed to be sending a shock, electric shock, to the person in the other room. And with more questions they got wrong, the larger the shock dosage was, and
so the people in the other room would scream, and
the people in the other room would scream
louder, and they would
beg for mercy. I've got a heart condition, and basically the vast majority of the subjects would shock them to the point that he went silent.
Because the quote doctor was
they would pause. It was frequent that they would pause.
They saw a guy in a white coat as authority.
Yeah, they would pause and look back at the person, and basically, for reassurance, and the person would just nod and say, "Go ahead," or whatever.
And that's exactly what you're getting with the military thought process.
And that's even the same reason that, just to make a comparison here, that you see priests having, with child molestation issues, because the parents tell them, or they're told, to listen to authority no matter what.
That's right.
And it makes people, children and just people in general that were raised that way, very vulnerable to any kind of exploitation.
Right. But that's why you have people in uniforms molesting children at the airport, is because they're in a position of authority. They're protecting you. Really, they're protecting you by molesting, by feeling you up, by feeling all of us up, by looking under our clothes. That's protecting me. They looking in little old ladies' diapers, and that's somehow protecting all of us. So you're exactly right. That's the thing, is that the state is nothing but violence, and they have a group of armed thugs that will come kill you if you don't obey the contract.
Getting back to the military and going after the civilians, I think that's real important for people to understand that's going to be the exact same thing. And what difference does it make if you're getting orders to shoot a person, where that person was born and what land he's standing on, if that person's an innocent person that's not aggressing against you?
Exactly.
If they're going to be starting shooting Americans, and then the same people that are saying you're a traitor for not shooting a brown person, or a person that in a different colored uniform, is the same person that's going to be calling you a traitor for disobeying orders, killing Americans. So, I mean, there's a difference in taking orders and understand what's proper law and things that you shouldn't be doing.
Technically speaking, technically speaking, now it wasn't one of the 4 main branches of military. It was National Guard, but they have already fired on civilians at Kent State.
Right,
and they didn't even need to. They didn't even need to fire on civilians in Waco. They just burned them. The FBI did that for them. Burned the women and children alive.
Well, FBI is still taking orders, right? I mean, that's
my point. It's the same. So I hear people say, "Oh, no, the military wouldn't do that." Really? Because people who aren't even in the military do it. They're already doing it. Look at the no-knock rate.
And the government's everybody calling homeland terrorists now, right?
Right. Yeah.
Americans that stand up for law are homeland terrorists.
That's what I was going to say. If they believe that you're an enemy or that you might be an enemy, then that's all it takes now to go.
And you'll hear Americans
attack us.
Cry to kill them because the state has put a title on them that it's okay to kill them.
Or they're what? That's the new witch label is pedophile.
Yeah, burn the witch.
It happened to Snowden.
I've been threatened just for speaking out against the military.
I believe that.
Sure.
I believe that.
Yeah,
been there.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
I'd be interested to recreate that Milgram experiment somehow, where you could take members of libertarian or anarchist or liberty-minded community, and I'd be interested to see. I'd like to think, and I'm sure it would be different results, but it'd be interesting if they could do something similar to that with that same group of people.
That's a good idea.
And see how the results change.
I think it's a really good idea.
Oh, I mean, where the people are claiming to be a different mindset.
Yeah, I wonder if tribal communities would do that.
The people being studied would be, libertarians or anarchists, such as myself. And I know if it was me, of course, anybody can, in class, people are sitting there saying, oh, well, I would never do that. But obviously, everybody says that. But when you're put in that situation, people behave completely different.
Well, just look around at people in class and look how many conform to whatever the typical norm is. So few people are willing to even step outside of just basic norms that are accepted amongst classmates and whatnot. I mean, the new thing is to wear this type of shirt and this. But they won't even not do that. And I'm supposed to believe that they're going to stand up to someone who claims to be authority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you live by a collectivist mentality day in and day out, and I'm supposed to believe that magically, whenever the time comes, you're going to snap out of that and do something as an individual and stand up for your rights. I don't think so.
Yeah, I hope there's somebody out there that can call and debate us on this, because I really like to understand the principle of. I mean, I hear people call all the time and call for he's a traitor, and I want to see him, I don't know, spend his life in prison. All kinds of crazy comments about what should happen to Bergdahl.
He's supposed to be hanged or executed by a firing squad or something like that.
Yeah. I might like somebody to call and defend that, because I really don't understand how you can come up with that conclusion. But I'd really like to hear it. So, if anybody's out there, please call in and give us your side of that.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
Yep. All right. Hey, thanks for taking time, guys. Have a good one.
You too.
You too. Thanks. So, basically, I don't believe that you can sign yourself into indentured servitude. I don't believe, and I believe that, especially if there is some type of moral, conflict, you have actually an obligation
of continued performance of your contract.
Yes. So, if I'm contracted to clean someone's house, they're going to pay me for that, and then they bring me in the back room and there's a dead body that they want me to dispose of as part of that cleaning because they killed someone. Right. Well, then I have a moral obligation to breach that contract, and I think that applies. So, like our caller John said, the only difference between contracts between private individuals and contract between an individual and the state is the state has a lot of armed people who are ready, willing, wanting to commit violence against you if you breach the contract with the state. So that doesn't make the contract itself right. And if you have some type of moral, I think if your moral compass is telling you that what you're doing is wrong, then you shouldn't continue to do it. Now, I've heard a lot of people. Another criticism of the Bergdahl thing is that people, were injured or killed looking for him. He didn't tell anybody to look for him.
I heard that too, and that I hate to say it, but that's really not his fault.
Right, that's not. I mean, it's really not.
That's like somebody gets stuck in the Alps or something, and they send a helicopter out to search for it, and it crashes or something.
Right.
I mean, that's not the fault of the person
Right.
that got lost in the snow.
It's funny how far back the blame steps go.
Well, then the other one is that the criticism is that they traded 5 Gitmo detainees for him, and he's a deserter. That also was not his doing.
Right.
I mean, there's no sense in even debating whether.
As long as we don't blame the state and those acting on its behalf, I think that's
right. As long as you don't say, well, now wait a minute, maybe what's going on over there in Afghanistan is morally wrong. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe to me it doesn't. That's what people want to debate about. Was he right or wrong for walking away?
Right, and they also say that he knew what he was getting into, but that's not true.
Well, but even so, it doesn't matter. The question is, do you have the right to opt out, to cancel out a contract because of some reason, whatever the reason could be? Maybe because you just didn't like the food that was being served.
It's any job. It's all the same. The military's no different.
Do you have a right to walk away from your job, your day job?
I would think so.
Yeah.
So what I want to come back to you guys is about if you can sell yourself into a contract. We'll be right back, guys. Whatsoever I feel is we're back. So you're listening to The Principle on The Point, 95.9 FM, 1470 AM. If you want to call in and join the discussion, the number is 803-799-TALK. That's 803-799-8255. And we're talking about contracts and when you can breach them, when you can't. People seem to think that signing a contract with the state is punishable by death at times if you breach it. So what we were talking about in the parking lot, guys, that I want to bring up to the audience is whether or not you can sign your own body into slavery.
Whether you can, yeah. So, all right.
See, so let's
bring everybody
explain
up to speed. Let's explain why this is a question, because what that means is the reason why that becomes a question is that a lot of the arguments that are made about Bergdahl in particular is that when you sign a contract with the military, you're obligated to do what they tell you to do. Mm-hmm. The argument is so you don't have the right to just say to heck with this and walk away and give up the contract. Mm-hmm. And if you do, you're punishable by firing squad or whatever the heck, right? So the question then becomes: can you actually sign yourself into that situation? Mm-hmm. Is that a common law legal contract?
Okay, so I think personally that if you own yourself, then you can sell yourself. I believe that if you own yourself and the rights that come with owning yourself, and then why can't you sign those rights away to someone else?
Well, how do you transfer ownership?
Via contract, right?
There you go.
But my point is that you can sell your labor, you can sell your services, but how do you transfer ownership of you? I mean, you sign a contract, but there is no way to possess you. There is no mechanism by which to take ownership of you, like I would take ownership of your car, for instance, if you sell it to me.
Well, the method would be by force. But
then it's not a contract. I mean, then it's a null and void contract. Then it's just a threat.
Well, if I voluntarily enter into this agreement, if I say I will. If there's a stipulation in the contract that says if you breach the contract, I will come after you with sticks and I will beat you and drag you back for not finishing the job, and I read this and I understand this and I say yes, I'm okay with this, and I signed that, then why wouldn't that be a fair response?
Well, that you're asking a different question. The question that may be. But the question is, do you have the right to transfer ownership of yourself to begin with? Not can you sign away, can you agree to punishment for breach of contract? Of course you can agree to punishment for breach of contract. Well,
essentially that's what it would be if you sign away your own freedom.
No. Signing away your own freedom is something different. It gives you no control over yourself. It gives you you basically are forfeiting your natural rights. Mm-hmm. And the question is, so it ultimately, that argument becomes a bit of a subjective argument. I personally believe that you have certain rights that that you have because of your humanity, and that you can't ever transfer those rights to someone else, because then the concept is that if that makes me not a person. Mm-hmm. I have these rights as virtue of being a person, as being a conscious being, and therefore, if I transfer those to someone else, then that makes me no longer a conscious being. So logically, I can't do that. Now, then the question furthermore becomes, if I can sign away, if I can sign myself into indentured servitude, can I opt out of that contract at some point? Can I say, nope, sorry, no good, don't want it anymore? Do I have the power to do that?
Well, I think that would come back to the stipulations.
Another point that they're making: if you become owned by the state and you're signing away your rights, is what they're telling me that they believe, then you would have no right to a trial. I mean, they own you, so they can just discipline you. You have there'd be no reason to have a court.
No, they can just behead you.
Yeah, they can just do whatever they want. So the military tribunal and all that stuff is pointless if they own you. They just say, okay, well, we're just going to kill you.
So they're admitting they don't own you, but they're claiming ownership of you in one circumstance and not claiming ownership of you in another circumstance.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, the law just does not follow.
Well, on that note, we have a caller. I believe we're on the line with Kwame. Kwame, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Hey, we're doing well. Thanks for calling the right show.
I'm glad you guys made a joke about that. Well, see, I guess on the bright side, since I called it the wrong show, I still, gave a little bit of a libertarian message.
There you go. There's a plus.
Yeah, how'd the call go on the other show? I'm curious.
I mean, it was just, it was a little weird. I mean, they were talking about corruption in politics, which was kind of, it was kind of weird to me. Whenever I, when I got through to
politics is corruption. That's the definition.
Absolutely. I mean, I thought it was the right show because they were talking about, corrupt politics. But I guess I should have learned because
you didn't hear my sexy voice. That it wasn't us.
Yeah. But I mean, it was all right.
All right. So what's on your mind, Kwame?
Well, pretty much, I guess my argument of the day on Facebook has been about this immortal technique situation. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them or if you guys heard about what happened to him.
What's the latest?
Or what the media alleged has happened to him. And really, the whole debate, I guess, has been over, IP rights and if what the alleged bootleggers did with the T-shirts that they were selling, if that constitutes theft.
So let me explain it. He claims to be an anarchist, and so
Immortal Technique did.
Immortal, and he was doing a show, and I guess during or after the show, he saw some people that weren't licensed to sell his merchandise with shirts and such that had his name on it and were making money off of it, even though he's supposed to be a capitalist and everything else. And against state law, he's evidently supporting IP law and profit and everything else. And he took 10 guys with him, went down there and beat them up, and stole all their merchandise.
Really?
Yeah. So now he's just...
So what do you think about that, Kwame?
Well, I mean, to me, obviously he's a hypocrite if he even claims to be anti-capitalist, but he's still beating people up over profit. And then he's more of a hypocrite if he claims to be anti-government, but he's still relying on, government protection for IP laws. If he's really trying to enforce this absentee ownership, if you will, I mean, because it's, IP is just nonsense, honestly. But
most people.
I mean.
Yeah, let's bring
that's
the
pretty much my take on it. But really, I've been, people have been trying to justify what he was doing because they were saying that the people that were beat up, the unlicensed vendors, they were thieves. They stole from him.
Yeah,
and I really had to.
It's funny with IP
get into a debate about what theft even means.
Yeah, we need to really step in here and get the listeners to understand what we're going to talk about.
Right.
A lot of people don't understand what IP means.
It's intellectual property.
It's intellectual property. Which is
copyrights, trademarks, patents.
Yeah, and it's anything that's not actual physical property, but somehow people claim ownership.
So we're talking about logos, branding,
anything
music,
like that.
movies.
Right. You know, the Robin Thicke.
Anything with a C
Marvin
or a
Gaye.
TM at the end.
Right, CM, TM, algorithms. Their patents are also fall under intellectual property.
Apps.
More often than not, it's the algorithms underlying the applications than the applications themselves.
So you can patent math.
So that, I mean, that's the question.
Monsanto
right?
has patents on seeds.
Right. Yep. So, Kwame, I don't know if you've noticed this. I'm sure you have. Most anti-capitalists are hypocrites because they all profit. I mean, they all have some form of profit. They're not paupers. You know, they have some form of profit used to purchase things with. So
if you are buying, selling, trading anything,
well, look at. I mean, I'm not picking on him, but look at Michael Moore.
Right.
One of the most vocal anti-capitalists out there, who is extremely wealthy because of
Capitalism.
selling, because of his profit
and IP.
The irony is the first thing they realize is when you talk about private schools, now they throw in this for-profit schools. They're starting this for-profit thing.
I saw this ban private schools petition, and I was thinking, so the government schools are defunct, so let's ban the ones that do work? Is that what they're thinking about doing?
And the ones that are efficiently and actually make a profit by being efficient.
Yeah. So
Kwame, I think you're absolutely right. He's a hypocrite. You cannot be anti-capitalist and pro-profit. It doesn't work that way.
You can't be
anti-government. You can't be anti-government and pro-IP. I mean, just the way it is.
And you can't stand up for law and go around stealing other people's property just because the paint looks like your picture on it.
Right. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, it's funny. People are trying to call them the thieves, but really he would be the thief because he stole somebody else's
exactly.
T-shirt.
It's always
the fact
reversed.
that they had some paint that looked similar to
Kwame. Hold that thought. We're coming right up on a break. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Working hard. The Point. 95.9 FM and 1470 AM.
All right, guys, we're back. Once again, you're listening to The Principle on 95.9 The Point, 95.9 FM, 1470 AM. If you want to join the conversation, the number is 803-799-TALK, 803-799-8255. Go ahead and save that in your phone if you want to join us.
Somebody let the dogs out? What was that?
That was been caught stealing. Isn't that appropriate?
So we have David on hold and we got Kwame on the line. Let's bring it back up.
Let's bring Kwame on.
Kwame.
Yo.
Hey, man, so you wanted to talk about the IP laws and who the thief is.
I mean, because really, I would, before we went to commercial break, a lot of people have been saying that, what they were doing, what the vendors of Immortal Techniques, unlicensed, shirts or whatever, what they were doing was theft. And, I think it's a common misconception that you have with a lot of people, especially statists, where they really don't even know the law or, the jargon, the proper jargon to use that, that when they're still trying to support the state or, a state construct. So I mean, that's pretty much what I wanted to discuss a little bit, like how would that be theft? Like how is me infringing your, quote unquote,
I think we should go back and talk
your patent.
To look at that, look at this Marvin Gaye lawsuit where they sued what's his name, Thicke, about the song, and somehow my question with that was, how did that hurt Marvin Gaye's estate? Did that make him sell less records? I mean, what was his injury in this? This makes no sense whatsoever. That's why I want to say it.
It's even more basic than that. Can you actually claim to own a string of sounds?
Right.
I mean, can you?
Yeah, eventually there's going to come. There's only so many combinations with notes and scales that you can ever make. So eventually, you are going to have all the music that could be.
But even if you did, how is it harming him? It's not money that he would have made.
It actually promotes him. That's the thing. Monty Python, I don't follow any of that, but I read somewhere recently that Monty Python, once they started putting something for free up on YouTube or something, clips, that their DVD sales like quadrupled.
Right.
So once a lot of times what happens with pirating, specifically of music and things like that, is it gets the artist out there more and it promotes legitimate sales.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and in this case, why would the guy be upset that somebody's selling T-shirts that's promoting his music?
Right.
Yep. So he thinks all of a sudden he owns their T-shirts. Well, it makes no sense.
It's even more practical than that. He doesn't have to invest in the overhead of screen printing the T-shirts, of stocking the T-shirts, of carrying the T-shirts
free
around,
advertising,
and somebody's selling them with his name on it, and he's upset. He's only upset because he's not getting the profit from it. He's getting the promotion, which will cause him to profit in other ways, but he's not making the profit on those specific.
Maybe if they had stated they're donating it to an anti-capitalist
that would have been
society, he would have been okay with it.
Yeah.
So we need to do an actual show on intellectual property. I think is what it comes down to, because a lot of people don't. I'm in computer software, and I get asked that question a decent amount. Like, how can you have the beliefs you have and be in computer software? Well, because if I write software for someone, I sell them that software. I don't then claim ownership of that software from now to
perpetually.
Perpetually from now to the end of time, because I wrote it. Once I write it and turn it over to you, it's yours. Right. I mean, if I'm going to ask you ahead of time what you're going to do with it, if I think that you're going to resell it, make a big profit off of it, I probably won't write it for you. I might write it myself and sell it myself.
Or you can contract them however they sell it, that you get profit from their sale. I mean, contracts work in all kinds of different ways.
Right. So, but it's an insane concept to think, and I think it's even more insane in the internet age to claim all of this when you have open source software that people make a profit off of, that people just do because they like doing it.
Society has to get back to real law and understanding of property.
Common law.
Yeah, to straighten out America. It's just really out of hand.
All right, well, thanks for the call, Kwame.
No problem, guys. Love what you guys are doing. You know what I'm saying? Keep it up, man.
Appreciate it, man. Feel free to call back anytime.
Absolutely. Take care.
You too.
Okay, so now we have David on the line. David, are you there?
Hey, David.
Yes, good evening.
How you doing, man?
I'm fine. Hello to all three of you, including you, Chris.
Thanks.
Turn the other cheek.
The Bowe Bergdahl guy, the situation.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite revealing in looking at a lot of the public's response to him. It causes me to be thankful that the service that I did is done, because I don't think that I will ever do it again. Because depending on who you are determines what the public's response is going to be. I mean, we're talking about throwing a active duty military person under the bus right now. This man is still active duty. He still wears uniform.
Right.
Yep.
Wears the uniform
because he has a different attitudes towards his morality is different than Chris Kyle, who was shooting teenagers.
Oh, God, the hypocrisy.
Right.
One's a hero, and all of a sudden, one is a guy that should be executed. It's
shooting
insanity.
people in the back.
Yeah.
And it's like it's just. I mean, I still love this country, but it's so hard for me to just keep praising it like I used to. You know, I wore the uniform with pride. I still fly my flags with pride. But I look around and I see where, we're not all that we said that we were, and I believe it.
Well, what happens is people have conflated society and their neighbors and their brother and the people around them with the government. Yeah. So when you say I love America and you're saying, well, I love the people around me and my family and everything, that's not the government. So the brainwashing comes when people put that all together and say that if I don't like something the government's doing, that I hate everybody that's around me.
Disagreeing with the politics in America is somehow anti-American.
It means you hate freedom.
Right.
Yeah, and you can only do it if you're aiming it at one political party or the other.
Right. That's something I've tried to explain to people.
Biggest problem.
That's something I've tried to explain to people before, is that I love the American people and like the land of America and the awesome things about the country, but the government is not included in those things I love. Right.
What were you saying, David?
With regard to this thing, the contract situation. Now, I recall that there was a situation. There was a thing they call conscientious objection.
Right.
Where you weren't required to, if you will, kill anyone. I don't know if that took you out of a war zone or what have you. Now, has either of you pondered the difference, or can you articulate the difference between a contract versus a contract solidified, if you will, by an oath? Because that would be the difference in the military and other contracts.
I mean, there are two things at play in the military. You're signing a contract, one, agreeing to become an active duty member of the military for a predetermined amount of time. While you are in training, you take an oath to uphold the Constitution. But
the oath isn't really any kind of...
Yeah, I mean, the oath is just... ultimately, it's a formality.
It's just a part of training. It's not really any kind of legal...
So upholding the Constitution
there's not a legal,
in your contract?
It's not legally binding.
Yeah, it's not an oral contract or anything.
I don't know if upholding the Constitution is a part of the contract you sign or not.
Is it, David?
Sure.
It's part of the oath.
Right.
Yeah. Now, let me see. What else was there? I might have to call you back later.
That's all right. You can do that.
We've only got about a minute before the break, so.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the clock. But you guys are doing a great job. I wish that you would develop a chat online, because I'm sitting here talking to myself online.
I think we might do that with Skype or something like that.
Feel free to call back in the next segment, David.
All right, then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Good night. So it's basically, I think that everybody makes this issue more complicated than it is. And it's because they've been propagandized into seeing a contract with the government with the state as being different than a contract between individuals.
It has to be made complicated so that you can't see how wrong it is.
So you can't see how simple it is.
Yeah, right.
So you can't see that it's just a contract and you have the right to opt out of the contract if you. And here's the thing too. Hey, we'll talk about it when we come back.
All right, guys, you're listening to The Point. You're listening to The Principle on The Point.
That would be it.
The number, if you want to call in during the break, is 803-799-8255. Give us a call. I believe what we left off on was contracts and whether or not you can sell your own rights.
Whether or not you can sell yourself into indentured servitude. But we were talking about the Bowe Bergdahl thing. Bowe Bergdahl.
He's a
Bergdahl. Anyway, so I think one of the things all right, it all boils down to contract, whether or not you can cancel out of a contract at one point in time or not. But I also think a very interesting aspect of it is the moral aspect. The aspect of... as a member of the military, if you feel that you're being asked to do something immoral, do you at some point in time have the right to cancel the contract? To say, no, I'm not going to do that. And everybody wants to argue, because Fox News tells them to, they want to argue about whether or not, being in Afghanistan is moral. And of course that's immoral because blah, 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 right? But let's take it to a smaller level than that. If they're saying, go kick in the door of these people's home and look around and, hold them at gunpoint while you look around, and you go, wait a minute, whoa. If this was my family that somebody was kicking in their door doing that, I wouldn't want that to happen, so I'm not going to do that to them unless there's some credible reason to think that they are a threat. Not just door to door, because that's what a lot of goes on over there. Is they just go door to door to door looking for terrorists. So at some point you have to say, would you want that to happen here? And if it happened here, would it be moral or not? Mm-hmm. And if it happened here, would it be moral or not? And would you be upset with someone who says, I think it's immoral and I'm not going to do it?
Right, but the difference is there's like, I think there's a terrorist over there. There's like one, maybe.
No.
Well, they say there are. So when
they're in Pakistan, really. I mean, honestly,
we're supposed to kick down all the doors until we find all the terrorists.
Right, so that's the thing. The Taliban that was there, that the U.S. military is supposed to be fighting over there, has basically mostly fled Afghanistan, has retreated to Pakistan or other areas, and the U.S. government, as they do over and over and over again, has installed a puppet regime over there under Karzai. And is there still a reason to believe that there's a credible threat there? I don't know. I don't think so.
I mean, I don't think so. I don't think any of us here think so. But you don't really need much to convince people that there's terrorists behind every blade.
And I want to say that you're saying if it would happen here, it does happen here. The only difference is instead of saying there's illegal terrorists in there, they're saying there's an illegal drug in there.
There's an illegal plant.
Right. Like we were saying earlier, people wonder if the military would fire on American citizens. Look at the police.
Yeah, they're already doing it. They already kick down doors, and nobody stops to say, well, it's somebody's house, and they're accused of having a property that somebody's saying illegal. Mm-hmm. They're not holding somebody hostage and torturing somebody that you need to save them.
And the militarization of the police it really brings that into focus.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get off topic, but I'm just saying, to show that it already happens here. So the moral questions are already thrown out the window because people will find reasons to stuff right around in morality.
Yes, absolutely.
And kill somebody. And,
you're absolutely right.
And call for the death of innocent people.
I still think it needs to be pointed out that there is a moral issue there, and that someone saying, whoa, wait a minute, I've got a moral qualm with this situation is something that should happen more often than it does.
But you know what? You don't even. All you have to know is I own myself and I have a right not to do something.
Yes.
I don't have to have a moral reason. I don't have to have any reason.
Right.
I have the reason. I have the right to say I don't have to do anything.
Absolutely. But I'm talking on the level that so much of the public is already on, and the kind of thing you're up against. I had a conversation.
Yeah, they talk about duty and all these.
Yeah, exactly. And I had a conversation a few years ago with an older man who was around, and I was talking about how it was wrong to put Japanese people in concentration camps.
Right.
And he said, "Well, they were wanting to kill us, and they were going to climb water towers and poison the water supply. We didn't have a choice."
The Japanese and Americans?
That's what you're up against. That level of propaganda and that level of ignorance and brainwashing, and it's the Taliban. So that means that we should basically, turn everything into a field of glass. Because the Taliban. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, the U.S. government is the only government that has ever used nuclear weapons, has used them against other countries. I mean, and we're worried about these guys?
We're always worried about everybody else's nuclear weapons.
Yeah, They can't have, they're terrorists, they can't have nuclear weapons.
We don't even want a lot of countries to have a nuclear defense system, which is what kind of scares me.
Well, I mean, if you kill somebody for freedom, it's okay to kill them for freedom. It's when you kill them for, what's the other reasons? What's the other reasons people are that it's not okay to kill? Because of religion.
Safety,
although Americans have killed for religion too, so that's not true.
Yeah.
I'm confused. I forget which ones are legitimate reasons to kill people and the other ones aren't.
I think self-defense is the only legitimate reason, right?
That's the argument, though. That's what the media sort of turns it into, is that this is self-defense because these people are about to attack us.
How? So some random
prevent defense. Remember?
Right. Some random person who's just trying to do what they can to get by over in Afghanistan after having their country bombed out
18 times over the past,
and having some puppet government put in place by the West. Mm-hmm.
And then a rebel threat to the government funded by the U.S.
Right. And ISIS, which is funded by the U.S., equipped with arms by the U.S., Iran, which was also put in place by the U.S. When the Republic was toppled, a CIA-funded overthrow, and the Shah was put in power. Saddam Hussein that was put in power by the United States.
It's been the same old tricks for quite a while now.
Same old. And those people are a threat to us.
Right.
Now you think about what if that was happening here? What if China was toppling the government in South Carolina and bringing someone else to power? What do you think people would say to that?
I'd say we wouldn't like China too much.
Right. I mean, you think they would want to defend themselves against China? I mean, but when it's some other country and not Americans, then that makes it bad. No, it doesn't. You can't have it both ways. Mm-hmm. You can't. That makes you an immoral hypocrite. And the best thing to do is to leave people the heck alone.
Yeah.
And if they try to hurt you or harm you, then you worry about it where you stand. But you don't go proactive. It was Hitler that coined the concept of preemptive war, as a matter of fact.
I thought it was George Bush.
I think we should, honestly, I think the best thing that this country
he just stole it from Hitler.
Is just bomb the whole country into Americans. If you
bomb them enough, you send them
like poof.
Freedom bombs. They're freedom bombs.
Yep.
And if you detonate enough freedom bombs over there, they will become Americans.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they're not bad guys anymore, and the
not.
rebels are good guys.
That's why Hiroshima is the freest place in the world.
Nagasaki and Hiroshima are the freest place. They had huge freedom bombs.
The biggest freedom bombs ever detonated.
So there was, I mean, it was a tsunami of freedom that was unleashed over there.
Yeah.
Well, I have a different angle on that when we come back. I know we're getting close to the break, and here we go.
All right, guys, you're listening to The Principle on The Point, 95.9 FM, 1470 AM. And if you want to join the discussion, call us at 803-799-8255. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Careless in our summer clothes, splashing around in the muck and the mire.
Radio experience. This is The Point, 95.9 FM and 1470 AM.
You're listening to The Principle on 95.9 The Point, 95.9 FM, 1470 AM.
We're still trying to figure out how to operate microphones over here, evidently.
We're having some mic issues on my end.
Cam was in the back room trying to talk to the microphone.
Yeah, I get crackly, apparently. They say I'm too close to the mic, but I don't feel like I am. So, anywho.
So
where were we?
Oh, I wanted to bring up something. We were talking about preemptive
war. Preemptive war.
Well, to use the preemptive slogan to get away from attacking people that aren't attacking you. I mean that nobody's doing anything, but they may do something, so I'm going to attack them. Well, that's the same logic that they're using now to take away your guns, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah.
So now they're just turning it all around to like the same logic we're using against people in other countries. We're going to use it on Americans.
At the end of the day, everything the government does is for your safety.
Right.
It's like an insurance
for the
company.
children.
Well, for your children's safety.
But
I've been hearing so much.
Maybe people will understand now how other countries have a right to have their own military or their own guns. If you have the right to have your own gun, so you can't. You have no right to invade.
They're one of the biggest bullies in the world. So you
can't say Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, but I can have a gun. Well, I mean, if you're going to make an excuse that they can't have the one, then your excuse for having a gun is out the window, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Same argument. Yeah. So, and that's one of the things that drives me crazy, because that's a common theme that I see over and over and over again, is people arguing one way when it comes to other countries, and then completely opposite when it comes to other people in the same country. Somehow they see that political line as making things different. You know, what you're saying there. Iran can't
because they're not using logic. They're just repeating this mantra that they've heard, and they think that they've came to that through their own knowledge. They think, in their minds, they think that they've somehow for years reasoned this out. And they don't realize that they're just repeating what they've heard on talk radio or on Fox News or whatever else.
The same people that, a lot of the same people that are very critical of what Bowe Bergdahl did are the very same people that would want a bunch of Bowe Bergdahls to be around if they tried to turn the military on the U.S. They basically expect that would happen. No. The people in the military are good. They won't fire on Americans. They won't come around and confiscate our weapons. Really, they won't. How would they not do that? Well, they would not do that by not following orders, by recognizing that there's a moral obligation to do what's right that transcends orders. by walking away and refusing to do it. That's what Bowe Bergdahl did. You may not agree with his reasoning. You may think that he is wrong, that he's wrong morally. That his assessment of the situation's morality is wrong. But ultimately, what he did is exactly what you want the military to do if they're firing on us.
It's really what you would want any person to do is if they think something is wrong to
anything that's unlawful, you should want people to step up and not do it.
Yeah,
and that's what it amounts to.
It's like the people in the bullying campaigns you see on TV. They're like that one kid who like stood up to the bully or whatever. It's the same thing you want your own children to do.
Right.
But when this soldier does it,
the problem is Americans are ignorant of what is lawful. They think that anything that's legal, anything that's brought forward by a politician, any kind of order they get by so-called authority, is what's lawful.
Is what's right.
But it's also deeper than that, because I can tell you in my personal practice, I don't bring up things like the Bowe Bergdahl situation because of my beliefs behind it, because so many people feel the opposite. They feel that he's a deserter, he's done something wrong, and it's so difficult to explain it. It's so difficult to get people to listen long enough to hear what you're saying, to understand where you're coming from. So,
because they're all emotions, they're not any logic whatsoever.
But so it's a very difficult topic to broach a lot of times, and people like me will sometimes keep their mouth shut in mixed company just because I don't want the hassle. I don't I don't want to be labeled a certain way. I mean, people already look at me differently because I'm not a big fan of cops. You know, I mean, you don't want to keep getting labeled a certain way, so they make it not the people, but the media, the state. They make it very difficult to be a person who is outwardly vocal in opposition to that type of thing, because they're driving it into everyone's heads. Bergdahl is evil. Bergdahl is evil. He's a deserter. He's evil. He people suffered and died because he left, and blah blah blah. Instead of, it's not just simply that people don't understand law. It's just that they.
I'm just so shocked that when the Snowden was in the news, that how many politicians came outright and said he should be executed.
I know.
I mean, what's her name? There was Sarah Palin, I believe. Even they just Peter King. I mean, a few of these people just
I can see Russia from my house.
Have no idea. It's amazing the amount of politicians that are just so ignorant. They don't understand law. They don't understand the principles. Most of them don't understand the Constitution, and they are ruling a nation. It's just the scariest thing in the world.
Well, and it's very frustrating to me, the hypocrisy, the logical hypocrisy that I see over and over and over again. You said, just like you pointed out, going back to what you were saying, you pointed it out, Chris, that if you think that Iran shouldn't have nukes, but the U.S. should, then you can't be a gun owner. I mean, you're not
following proper lawful property rights.
Right. So I see that over and over and over again, and especially, and unfortunately, especially with conservatives, I see this hypocrisy. I don't like the government, but I love the military. Well, they are agents of the state. They are agents. I mean, you may like the individual people, and you may think that the individual people are well-meaning, but the agency, the military, the organization itself.
And it's the whole delusion of Obama is a separate government than the regular government, and when he's gone, the government's different. I mean,
right, because it's drastically changed from Bush to Obama.
It's such a mental disorder that people have, thinking clearly about what reality is.
It's a lack of applying logic to the situation, and I don't want to get on a tangent here, but it comes down to people are no longer taught how to think. Mm-hmm. They're taught what to think.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. I mean, it starts
from the
kindergarten.
Yes, I mean, right away. And so people don't examine things to that level and recognize the logically hypocritical stances that they take on things, because they're not taught to think, and they would rather not.
You would think most of education would be Socratic, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
That you would be asking children to reason, to come up with their own answers instead of repetition and just repeat after me. And if you don't give me the answer that I'm telling you, then you're wrong.
Regurgitate the answers that I gave you.
We assume that once you get your high school diploma, that you're like a capable and intelligent person ready for the world. But all you really have to do to get that is just memorize a series of facts over a long period of time. It's nothing about like actual life or being a decent person or anything like that. It's hurting, it seems like.
People also think that once you have gotten your driver's license, you know how to drive.
Right.
I spent enough time driving around South Carolina, I can tell you that is not true.
Not true.
Or doctors really actually being doctors,
right, doctors
know how
medical license. Yeah, because they got a medical
license. That's a little scary.
Yeah. So it's there's two, like we've been saying, there's two big aspects to this Bergdahl thing. There's the contract aspect, which is the ultimate aspect. That's the only thing that ultimately matters. Get rid of all the emotion, get rid of everything else. Do you have the right to opt out of a contract or not? That's it. I mean, not opt out, cancel the contract.
Right.
But I do think that just for the listening audience's benefit, you have to consider, you have to at least speak to the moral aspect of it. Most people are not going to, people are not driven by morality, ultimately. But I think that and I can only say that if the military was told to fire on American citizens, all I would want was a bunch of Bowe Bergdahls. Mm-hmm. So because of that, I cannot be a hypocrite and say that he's wrong for doing what he did. Whether I agree with it or not doesn't matter. I cannot be a hypocrite, and it's like with the Chris Kyle thing. If Chris Kyle was Chinese and he was here in the United States shooting Americans, he would definitely not be a hero. Mm-hmm. So I cannot call Chris Kyle a hero because he was in Iraq shooting Iraqis who were defending their homeland.
Well, he was shooting just regular people walking on the street. And
right.
He wasn't even shooting.
Yeah, sure. But he was a foreign invader in a foreign land shooting at people who were defending their homes.
Sure.
Well, if it was the Chinese here doing it against me, defending my home.
I would hope every redneck would be out in the trees with 30-06s.
Well, I would not a 30-06, maybe a 308, but yeah.
Well, whatever.
But it's frustrating a lot of times because people don't think of things that way, and they don't even realize that they're being hypocritical. And they revert back to emotion and say, but Fox News says, or CNN says, or the president says, or the Joint Chiefs of Staff says. And you can't hold both.
It's like the only opinions or outlooks that we're allowed to choose from are those that are handed down from the government or from the media or whatever. And it's the Hegelian dialectic.
Hegelian dialectic.
Hegelian. You're not allowed to stray from that. You're not allowed to stray from these official, endorsed opinions.
If you can set the extremes, control the extremes,
i.e. Fox and CNN,
of the argument, then you can determine the outcome.
Right.
You don't have to determine the outcome directly. You can just control. So basically, people that think like us don't typically make it mainstream to where they can have their opinions espoused, because that would break the Hegelian dialectic, which is a way of corralling people into thinking a certain way. Mm-hmm. That's all it is.
Oh, well, that's the music. All right, guys, you're listening to The Principle on 95.9 The Point. If you want to call in and join the discussion or bring up something else that you'd like to talk about, you can call us during the break at 803-799-8255, and we'll bring you back on after these commercials. Stick around. We'll be right back.
We'll hold hands and then we'll
5.9 The Point. I gave you the number, but you didn't call in. We'll forgive you this time. We have one more segment here.
You can bring up anything you want. It's a free phone Sunday.
Please, we're desperate. We're
so dare you to call.
No, actually, we had a lot of callers tonight. We had John, David, and Kwame.
Are we really running out of things to say? We have to rehash it.
I wanted to give them a shout out.
They're all heroes.
They are.
They call for your freedom.
They're heroes in my book. Yeah. Thank you guys for serving.
Yes.
So
hey, that's a good one. That's a good one. Thank you for serving. That's all right. I think that's another aspect that would lead someone like Bowe.
Start a fire in your mind?
Yes, you did. I'm telling you, it's on fire. That's another aspect that would lead, in my opinion, would lead someone like Bowe Bergdahl to do what he does, is that it's driven into our heads over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. The troops fight for our freedom. The troops fight for our freedom. The troops fight for our freedom. And I haven't served over there, thank goodness, but I could only imagine getting in that situation and going, whoa, wait a minute. Whoa.
Look what happened with Pat Tillman.
Yeah.
He's making $1 zillion playing football, and he's had it pounded in his head that, it's more important to go fight for your nation because of what he's been taught,
But could you imagine ending up over there and then realizing, I'm not really fighting for freedom?
Yeah, that's what happened to him.
And so many people. I mean, that would be tough. That would be extremely tough. Because the truth is that I don't recall. There has been a long time since someone has truly fought for. If you're fighting for our freedom, and you're in Afghanistan, Iraq. My freedom is not over there.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Your freedom, and somehow magically, with all of this fighting, I'm becoming less and less free.
Yeah, that's the real ironic part about it, is that more and more of our freedoms are regulated away every day, legislated away every day, and so what freedom are they fighting for? Where does it come from?
You can't even sit in your own home and smoke a plant.
Yeah.
So, but that you're fighting for my freedom.
Well, speaking of fighting for freedom, we actually have a former military man on the phone with us. David, you're back. David, you there?
Yes, I am.
Hey, what's up, man? What do you want to talk about?
Is that Cam that's way in the background?
Do I sound in the background?
What?
Well, somebody's
Is that
in
me?
the background.
Am I in the background? I think it's Chris.
Doing what?
What's he sound like?
Distant.
We all
biscuits?
We all just leaned
distant. He said.
We all just leaned into the microphone, so it didn't quite work.
Okay.
Sometimes
great.
I sound like biscuits.
That might have been me. We had to turn my mic down because it's cracking.
This term, thank you for your service. That strikes a nerve with me. Because it's like, you don't thank me for my service, and you don't thank any of these vets for your service. These vets are just pawns for you. They're doing something that you're too coward to do, if you will. And like you guys have been basically saying, they're not fighting for our freedom anyway. Because if they are, they need to have take a lesson in geography. Because they're not here, they're over there. Those people are not bothering us.
Mm-hmm. I think it's more that they do something that you wouldn't do because you were smart enough not to go do it. So you think, well, thank you for doing it because I ain't going to do it. You know what I mean? So most people we're not going to give up their life. It takes a young kid that's not thinking to say, I'm going to get free college and some pay.
Yeah, it was quite a rewarding experience, if you will. I mean, I got to meet a lot of different people of different cultures, and it gave me a greater respect for humanity. That may be why, I feel the way I feel today about people. You just don't discard people, because of their ethnicity, their culture, or their nationality, or whatever. We're here for whatever reason that we're here for, and I'm no better than you, and you are no better than me,
Yeah, the one thing about the service, I guess, is that a lot of people can go see other nations and see that they're just other people in a different people's land.
A lot of people don't come back with that, David. A lot of people don't come out with a respect for humanity and different cultures. A lot of people just come out really hating other parts of the world.
Well, yeah, it's different individuals bring back different ideas from it. That's
another.
For sure.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Now I can see where the sergeant, I can't get his name right, from the Afghans.
Bergdahl.
They call a deserter, Bergdahl, whatever. I can feel his pain, if you will, as he looked around his environment, his situation over there, and he didn't see any justification for hurting these people.
Right.
Exactly.
Why? I mean, if we were not there, we would not be hurt.
Mm-hmm.
We went to their country. How many of their military, be it planes, boats, or what have you, are over here in our airspace?
Mm-hmm.
Or attacking us?
Zero.
None. Zero.
Because they don't have
so
anything.
what gives us the right to
Last
be
I
over
heard,
there?
they were actually taking some Toyota pickup trucks through the ocean.
Hilux.
Yeah.
So back to the thanks for your service thing. One of the things that really highly irritates me is that the people who send our young people to fight in wars don't send their young people.
Right.
Yeah, that's ironic.
Talk about a hypocrite. They say, what's the saying? Their kids go to Harvard and Yale. Our kids go to Iraq and jail.
Yeah.
At least George Washington was somewhere on the near the line somewhere.
Right. Yeah. At least George Washington showed up to fight. I mean, I don't believe in the state, but I think that if you're going to have the state, if you're going to vote to send somebody to war, you should have to go yourself.
I honestly believe that. I think that if you want to go to war, you should literally go to the war.
Yes. Oh, yeah. You should. If you're going to vote to start a war and fight, and you should have to go.
Yeah.
But
it's easy to throw away someone else's life on it.
Oh yeah, it's really easy to throw somebody else's child.
But all this morality gets thrown out the window when there's fiats involved. Whenever there's endless money,
money spent.
Somehow all these arguments go out the window, and it's whatever you want to do.
What were you saying, David?
Yeah, just to make it clear, I have no issue with what the sergeant did.
Great.
Cool. I mean, I don't know if there was another approach that he could have taken, to go to his superior or someone that's in a superior position and say, look, let's push eject on this situation because I can't handle it. Yep. Get me out of here. I don't know if he had that option. I've never been in combat, but I can understand him not wanting to follow through on something of that nature.
Yeah. Yep.
We've overstayed our welcome. We may have never been welcome there. We have issues here that we need to deal with. And as far as Iran getting a nuclear weapon, so what? Yeah, go ahead. I mean, it's like it's their sovereign nation.
Oh yeah. Right.
We're kissing Israel's behind left and right, and then we have these people over here that are, if you will, lifting up this Netanyahu beehole, above our, national beeholes. It's like, wait a minute, our beeholes are supposed to be greater, right?
Right. So, David, we've got other callers on the line too.
Okay, great. Okay.
We don't want to cut you off, but we really appreciate it.
Thanks again, David.
Thanks, David.
So now we are actually going to Dave.
We have Dave on the line.
You there, Dave?
Hey, buddy. How you guys doing?
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, actually, I'm a friend of Chris Snyder's. I don't even know if he's on this line, but
yeah, I'm right here.
Hey, what's up, Chris?
Just hanging out, talking to you.
Sweet. Yeah. Hey, I don't understand what the show's about, but I heard a little bit of the conversation, and I'm always up for that. I just delve right into anything anyway.
I have a tendency to do that in my life too.
Most of the show's been about Bowe Bergdahl and your right to cancel any kind of a contract that you get into and such. So we've kind of been all over the board a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I was actually talking about Netanyahu myself earlier, and I kind of wonder, why does Iran keep building their country so close to our military bases? What's up with those people?
I'm telling you, they do. They put their country right in the middle of all of our military bases.
Yeah.
They must want to fight.
They put our military bases right in the middle, or their countries right in the middle of our military bases.
And they're obviously a threat. I mean, I think it's been 217 years since they've attacked another country, if I have that right.
Something in that range, I think, right?
So that sounds about right.
But they're the threat. I mean, that's the ironic thing is that everybody worries about the axis of evil. These countries that are such a threat But who is the big elephant in the room that's going around and stomping in everybody's garden?
It doesn't matter. They need to jack up their country and back it up further away from those bases.
I think they're
getting too close.
I really do.
No doubt about it.
Yep. If they didn't want to fight, they should have not put their country in the middle of our military bases.
That's right. They're just kicking sand at us right now.
So,
well, can we pull an Operation Comet and erase the Operation Ajax thing? Or,
Dave, hold that thought. We're going to a break. We'll be right back in a few minutes. Just stay on the line.
Come back. Sometime I'm gonna rap like Jack. Sometime I get a hump in my back. Sometime I'm going over here.
The Office Place is a full-service dealership, providing layout, design, installation, and service after the sale. So, if you're in the market for office furniture, look them up at officeplace.net. Give them a call at 803-799-3375 or head over to 301C Greystone Boulevard here in Columbia, South Carolina.
A message from DAV.
On Paul, and there's not any chance that they let him get on the free market as far as he can without them putting too many hooks to him. But as soon as it gets close to election time, he will be bombarded with all kinds of naysaying anyway. So I don't think that's even anything to worry about. It'll probably be.
They're not going to let him
betting on this.
Rand Paul to rise to the point of being the nominee.
It'll probably be Bush 3.0.
They did. They made those rule changes with the GOP convention last time to prevent people like Rand Paul. They saw that on the horizon, and they made sure that.
Yeah, if you saw that last convention, it was all rigged up. So
the railroad job.
I missed that.
They made. I don't. Who cares really? Honestly, I mean, it's a.
Well, when they were counting the votes. They were already.
They made a rule change.
It was coming down the prompter.
Yeah. There was already the
yays and nays. He was calling the yays and nays before they even said on the prompter.
Before they said yay or nay.
That was in Georgia or South Carolina or something.
The yays have it, and they hadn't even called for the vote. I mean, but here's it was basically a rule change, as I recall, a rule change that said that you had to vote for the delegate or for the a candidate that you See, I don't even want to go into all this because it's just.
You're right. You bored me out of it.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, seriously, it's
pointless, right?
It's a kangaroo court
because you're not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere anyway. So,
but it's
pointless.
You, as a delegate, you don't actually have to vote for the person that was chosen in the primary. You can go as a delegate and vote for anybody, and they knew that. But they basically changed it where you had to be, and it's just all political wrangling to keep the oligarchs in power and keep the fiat currency flowing. I mean, what does it matter beyond that? Yeah, I don't want to be ruled. Leave me alone. I will leave you alone if you leave me alone. The end. If you mess with me, though, I am very, very much a supporter of self-defense.
Well, let's just get the country back to respecting law, and then everything will take care of itself.
Common law.
Yeah, law.
Sure. I only made that distinction because most people think of law as that TV show.
Right. Or the Constitution.
Right.
Right. Well, the only contrast I made between the two is, one obviously is towing a party line very forwardly, and one was not so much. Both are in the party line. Just one is doing a little more advertising, I guess.
Yeah, I think Rand Paul is what he acts like. I don't think that Rand Paul does. He does not. I think that apple fell too far from the tree.
Well, Ron Paul did a great having the platform to use to win over a lot of people to understand, the ideas of natural law and freedom and everything else. So, it did serve a purpose. But as far as anything else, going forward, I don't see anything coming beneficial. So, that's my take on it anyway.
I don't want to be ruled. I don't care. That you could choose. You could put any of them in their power. I don't want any of them.
Yeah, because no matter what you do, they're still surrounded by legislators that are writing law to take away freedoms of everybody else.
Bureaucrats and legislators.
It doesn't matter who's the head honcho.
It's not going to stop drug prohibition. It's not going to
get rid of Lindsey Graham just because Rand Paul's in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh God, please. Yeah. I think Rand Paul being there would bring Lindsey Graham even further out of the closet. Honestly, I think that debating about that it just doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, I hear you. All
right, thanks, Dave.
I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, have a good night.
You too.
Thanks for the call, Dave.
So, no rulers.
We just kind of went off the book here.
Yeah. So you don't think people should be able to measure things?
Right.
No more rulers.
Well, how would they measure the roads?
Well, we won't have roads if we don't have rulers.
And we definitely want to use a metric system.
We need to get back on the
path. Do know that all the children will be automatically eaten.
Right.
Because there's no ruler to stop it.
Right.
There will be no roads and no children anymore.
We have about 3 minutes left to actually explain what we're talking about here to those not in the know.
Oh gosh, what part?
What are we talking about?
Or where to begin?
For the children and for the robes, or
our caller claimed himself to be an anarchist, and that's actually a mind frame that I can kind of understand. It's the belief
and we're going to go down this road in 3 minutes. Okay, let's go.
Wow.
It's the belief that we're
going to have to speed. We're going to get a speeding ticket if we go down this road in 3 minutes.
It's the belief
the highwaymen are going to rob us.
That you don't want any rulers. You think that people are capable of living their own lives without.
What is the actual root of the word anarchy? Without rulers.
Rulers, yeah, right.
You don't want to be ruled. Now it's been twisted into
chaos.
Communist. I mean, there's people that are basically communist that claim to be anarchists that want to go throw Molotov cocktails and destroy private property because they're anarchists. That's not the original idea behind anarchy. Mm-hmm. Ancient Celtic society was an anarchic society. Mm-hmm. Ancient Native American society was also anarchic society. There was
Jesus Christ was an anarchist.
Jesus Christ was an anarchist.
Most people don't know that
he was. I mean, it shows.
A lot of people worship the guy.
That's a whole different show.
I think we should do that show next week.
Next week, we'll talk about Jesus Christ and anarchy.
Here we go.
And we talk about the hypocrisy of modern Christianity. That's a big pet peeve of mine.
Yeah. So everybody get the Bibles out.
Yeah.
We're going to do religion next week.
Yes.
Hey guys, study up on your Bibles. Get your verses ready, and I guess we'll do the same.
And the best thing you can do is get the heck out of church.
There you go.
It's funny how the state and the church seem to have such similar interests in mind.
Well, there's a long history of that. Look at England.
Right.
I mean, the church was. Let's don't get on that tangent. Let's go back. Let's go back. And so he was talking about no anarchy in the root term, the root definition. Mm-hmm. I like to use the term voluntarist because it implies you want a voluntary society.
That's what I would consider myself to be. Voluntarism, which is if anyone here is wondering what philosophies we subscribe to, voluntarism. It's the belief that
anarcho-capitalism is another term.
I think voluntarist.com is a whole website of explaining everything.
Voluntarism is the belief that all forms of human interaction should be voluntary. I got it out. Okay.
There you go.
Thank you guys for letting me say that.
You had to grease it up before you had to slide it in edgewise.
Let's stop right there.
That was not the meaning I meant to use. Gosh.
How much time we got, Drew?
So basically, look it up.
So on that note, here's the music. We'll come back next week, guys, and I think we want to talk about religion,
hypocrisy of modern Christianity,
consensual interaction, and how that could work in society.
No, we're going to talk about Christianity.
Okay,
and that'll take up the whole show because people are going to be screaming and yelling.
Good.
All right, guys, thanks for listening. This was The Principle on 95.9 The Point. Tune in next Sunday at 8.